Welcome, everyone. This is the Tree Advisory Committee. The meeting will come to order at 4:02. The minutes.
I move approval.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes from our last meeting, which was April 14th, have been approved.
Yeah.
Oh,
You missed
sorry.
me.
Sorry, okay.
You better remember your mic buttons.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a learning curve.
Yeah, I know.
And you have to learn it every time.
Yes, every time.
Start over.
All right. Oh, items, and we do have Sue Easterday here, who will speak about agenda item number E.
Well, then I think, don't you just speak at E then, or do you have to go?
I can stay.
Okay,
I'll just go in the order as you go along.
perfect.
You want me to do that?
Okay, do I just identify who's here? And then,
I don't think we have anyone to speak about something that's not on the agenda, unless I'm mistaken.
oh, I see, because that's an agenda item.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. She will speak later on in the meeting. Sorry. All right.
Go ahead and just leave your mic alone.
Oh, I see. I see what I'm doing wrong. Okay, sorry. All right, so we look at agenda items, and I think we want to change the order.
yeah, since we have, Deanna is here from planning to talk to us about items D, E, and G. So it might make sense to move them after welcome and introductions, just so she can speak to those agenda items and then go back to her busy schedule. So as a courtesy to Deanna, who was nice enough to come and meet with us today, I would just recommend potentially moving the agenda around to have the agenda items D, I guess it's D, F, and G moved in after A, if that makes sense. Right, so we have an amended agenda that got amended this morning, I believe, because we have, so you can see we have a few extra things. The council on Tuesday night referred some things to Tree Advisory, and I don't work on Wednesdays, so Scott was nice enough to kind of get this together and then get it out this morning. So it's a little bit different than what I had sent you. So at any rate, does what I said made sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't know if you guys want to consider that or not, or.
Certainly. Do we need a motion to approve the agenda and to approve the change in order?
Yeah, so you'd need a motion to change the order and then a motion to approve it as amended. You can, sure, yeah.
All right. I make a motion to accept the agenda and to change the order.
I second.
Okay? All those approve? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So moved. All right. First is always the best. So we have some new people here, and so I would like us just, we'll introduce all of ourselves. I'm Linda Brewer. I've been on the committee since Anna joined the staff.
2016, I think.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I can't believe it's that long. And I had met the forester before you in my work with the neighborhood association. So that's how I became interested. All right. We should just.
Okay, so I am the new member in the team. So I am Alder Julia Ratafrata, representing District 2, and I know some of you here because you live in my district. So I have been in the council, this is my 8th year, and I have been, I am also in Park Committee, I'm working with Sue, also in personal committee, and I have been in several other committees, so, and I think this is a great idea that I am here to learn more about tree, or what, and all the things that you guys are doing, because Gabriela told me a lot of things about you, so.
Great.
Oh, thank you. Welcome. Yeah.
Yeah, welcome.
Thanks, eh? Yeah.
Welcome. We're looking forward to working with you, Julia. Welcome.
Absolutely. Okay.
Hofer, and I live in Fitchburg, and I'm interested in restoration projects. Land restoration. What? I'm interested in restoration projects, but that also includes native trees.
Great, thank you.
Okay. I'm Sue Fieber. I joined the committee a year and a half ago, maybe. I'm just interested in trees in general, so
Excellent.
I live in Fitchburg too.
Yay. And I am Anna Healy. I'm the urban forester and naturalist, and I've been in this job since 2016. Can you introduce yourself, Deanna? Just because we would love to meet you. There's a mic here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Deanna Schmidt, and I am the city planner and zoning administrator. Oh, am I?
Welcome. It's wonderful to meet you.
Thank you.
And then, do you guys mind do you mind introducing yourselves as well, please?
Hi, my name is Jenna. I'm working with Anna this summer within the Parks and Forestry Division. I'm excited to meet you all.
That's wonderful.
And then we have Sam, who is one of our awesome volunteers, but I'll let him introduce himself.
Yeah, my name is Sam DiMaggio. I'm, I guess, a 25-year resident of Fitchburg. I've
Yay.
lived in Seminole Hills during that time, and I've been working on invasive species projects for the city for the last couple of years.
Awesome. And then last but not least, we have our lovely Sue Easterday. If, did you want to introduce yourself? Sure. Okay.
Yeah, just come on, slip in here.
Need a microphone.
Go ahead. Sure.
Hi, I'm Sue Easterday. I am the chairperson of the Parks and Recreation Commission, and so I like to stay in tune with what Tree Advisory Committee is doing and appreciate everything all of you do to keep all that end straight.
Yay.
Thank you.
All right,
Yay.
thanks, Sue. I guess then we'll go ahead, and I apologize for the kind of out of order agenda a little bit. We just, since we didn't meet in May, we have a few things that piled up, and then we got some things referred to us just this past Tuesday. So that's why there's a little bit of a change in the agenda. But we'll go ahead. Deanna's been kind enough to come and speak with us. We'll go ahead then and move to what is on the agenda on the screen as item D, Resolution R11922. And I'll let her take it away because she can explain it much better than I could.
So I'm going to kind of wrap together item D and the updated item F, so D and F there. This is actually the same project. It's two different phases. The first one, Resolution R11922, which is D on your agenda, is the preliminary plat. And then item F is the final plat. So in our planning process, there's two different steps to do a plat, beginning with the preliminary plat and the final plat. It's the same project, actually. And just given the timing, the preliminary plat was referred to Tree Advisory a couple of months ago, and then the final plat was referred to you all Tuesday night. So I'll just speak a little bit background about this project. This is lands owned by Thermo Fisher. And in particular, what is of interest here is a parcel that is going to be created by the plat at the corner of Spoke Drive and McKee. So it's about a 7-acre parcel there. And Alder Gerhardt referred this to you all, I believe, so you would have a chance to add your comments and thoughts about the existing tree cover on this property. So it's about a 7-acre parcel that the property owner, Thermo Fisher, is interested in selling and selling to another developer. And that developer would likely be a specialized industrial use or a business use. So I would expect, given our current zoning requirements, that it would be something similar to Thermo Fisher with laboratory, office, perhaps daycare might be something that would be allowable under our current zoning. So I will step back and see if you all have any questions about that piece.
Okay.
I have. Can I ask questions?
I wonder if Anna could describe it a little bit,
Oh, sure, yes.
property and what's
Yeah.
on it.
Thanks, Linda. So, it's private property, so I haven't walked the property, but Jen and I went over there and we walked the edge that we could, that's, in the right-of-way. And basically, it's a 7-acre parcel, like has been mentioned. It is primarily wooded. It is heavily invaded by honeysuckle and buckthorn, invasive shrubs, so it's a little hard to see in there. However, you can see that there are several really nice, what I would consider really nice oak trees, shagbark hickory, hackberry, kind of a nice variety of trees. And the interesting thing about it that struck me was there's a variety of age classes in there, so there's been recruitment. So it must have gotten invaded by honeysuckle relatively recently because there is recruitment of younger trees. So you don't just have the older trees hanging out by themselves. You do have probably a 20 to 30 year age class and a 40 to 50 year age class, and then probably an 80 plus year age class from what I could tell, which is kind of interesting. And some of those younger trees, to my eyes from the edge, looked like they were in really good shape and would potentially be really great candidates for preservation potentially. Anyway, so that's what, that's the forester naturalist view of it, not having really any skin in the game or any eyes actually in the stand itself. So,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Julia?
I'm fine. She answered some of my questions.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm confused what we're supposed to do.
Yes. What kind of feedback
Yeah,
are you asking from us? Would we like
Well,
to preserve those trees? Absolutely.
So actually, item D, Plan Commission has already approved. But item F, the final plat, has not been approved. And this project will still need to come back to Plan Commission for development permits.
Okay,
So it's not a done deal. This is just kind of one of the early steps in the process. Plan Commission does have within its purview to consider trees, the landscape, the quality of the environment when they are approving projects, approving plats, approving architectural design reviews. They do have that in their purview. So Anna and I kind of talked a little bit about this. One way you could just give us your thoughts and opinions. I'll take some notes and communicate that back to Plan Commission. If you so chose, you could make a motion, a formal recommendation to the Plan Commission that you would like to preserve trees, you would like to, I'm not, Anna can help.
Yeah, right. So one thing that you could maybe recommend is a survey of desirable trees on the lot or something of that nature,
Good idea, too.
Which could be, and we could refer back to the definitions that we'll talk about in the tree preservation ordinance in terms of desirable trees. that could be, if you were interested, that could be one thing that you could recommend. Yes, Julia?
Yes, I will also recommend if we remove X amount of tree, maybe we can recommend it to plant X
Sure.
amount of tree,
Sure.
in the
Yep.
property or in other places in the city.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Perfect, yeah, yeah. So really, you can make kind of whatever recommendation you think is appropriate.
So, and we're hoping in the future to have something clear for the Plan Commission.
This came up pretty fast.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't mean, I'm really thankful you brought it. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we're looking at a tree, an ordinance, proposing an ordinance that would be helpful, I think, in the future for these exact kind of questions. So if we, I mean, I can give my opinion, and then people can join in if that's the way. We'll just open it for discussion, and then make a motion, act on a motion. So so Anna, I do want to ask, so that would be the first step, is a motion to survey the desirable trees. And then the second part of that would be to, in my mind, to preserve especially the most desirable trees, based on what we have listed as,
Yep.
which includes a variety of very specific descriptors. And then thirdly, if that's not possible, to make some kind of a replacement.
Yeah.
And then just keeping in mind that the city has adopted a goal of 30% canopy. So on small scales, we're kind of thinking about that when we're asked about parks or any other developments, so.
And one thing just to keep in mind, this would be a request the developer would do. It wouldn't be something the city would do. So it wouldn't be myself or Jenna or whomever running out and doing the survey. It would be the developer hiring someone or having someone on staff or however they work it, do the tree survey
All right.
or whatever.
So then what would make it clear for them is a survey of desirable trees, a list of what those trees are, correct? And we have a list that can be provided. And then the goal of preserving as many trees as possible,
Yeah, if we could get to that 30% canopy, that'd be
Right.
amazing.
ideally 30%
Yeah,
goal,
that'd
because
be
that
amazing.
matches our canopy goal for the city.
And maybe, as Julia had mentioned, doing some mitigation
Yes.
potentially.
All right, so do I need to create, any other discussion?
I think
Questions?
maybe we should word it out just so we know what we're recommending.
Right.
Write it out, I meant to say, word it out.
I know. So the list of desirable trees at this point, the best way to get that on it would be to get that directly from you, is that correct? And those are the ones that we've listed in our proposed tree preservation
Yep,
ordinance
and
draft.
I can give that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so that's the first part. Second step would be a plan to preserve desirable trees.
I think maybe the next step would be the survey, the tree
That's
survey.
the first step, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I guess I missed that
No,
part.
why don't you do it?
No, you're doing
No,
great. You're doing great. I just am
No.
not hearing things.
So the first step is to create a survey of desirable trees, correct?
Yep.
On the property. And just, it's quote, desirable trees. And do I need to state that you will give that
I've got it here.
provided by the,
Yeah.
okay. Do you want to go ahead? Or do you-
Oh, well, I can,
Yeah.
I guess I don't want to lead the committee here, but then the next step would just be to identify desirable trees that can be saved. And then and then put a plan in place to save them, and with maybe the eye toward that 30% canopy goal. And if it isn't possible to save enough trees to get there, to come up with a planting plan to try and get as close as we can to that 30% canopy goal. I mean, is that kind of,
Good.
Okay.
Yes. So do you need to restate it as a motion?
yeah, let me just make
Okay.
sure I've got it here.
Any other questions or input, suggestions before we do that?
One of the main thing is going to be where those trees are located. If they're sitting smack dab in the middle of a 7-acre developable lot that's zoned for it, they're going down.
Yeah.
Just the way it is. That's the world. Like it or not. And the second thing is, and I know this is something we've been working on the on the ordinance. How likely are they going to be to comply with this while this, say, an office is being built?
Right, you bring up a really good point that tree preservation is something that has to happen throughout the entire process, or you might as well not even start doing it.
I mean, from having had a house built here in Fitchburg, I see how they throw the stuff around, you know?
Right, yeah, good point.
That's just how it's,
My house was built like 19 years ago, and I think what part of the goal of our committee is to work with the city on kind of moving our culture to
Right.
the future. And so
Right.
that's why we're starting now, well, Deanna started now by coming and asking for our input on this.
And part of, I think, you bring up some excellent points, and part of that, I think, is addressed in identifying, good tree
Right.
candidates for preservation. If it's in the way of the building, obviously it's not going to get saved, or right where it's too close to roadways or whatever, but yeah, so that's definitely, but that's a good point to bring up and a good consideration.
It is, and the goal is to work collaboratively
right.
and to protect our resources. So, thank you. Any other comments or questions, clarification?
Should I reread this? Okay.
Please.
So this is what I have, and please jump in if I've got this incorrectly.
Before you do, let me just start with Deanna. Deanna, is this helpful? Is there any other pieces of this that?
No, I think this is very helpful. I can't promise you the developers are going to do exactly and save every single tree.
Right.
However, I do think this
And
is,
there is a Santa Claus, right?
yeah.
No.
But this is part of that process of working with the development community, letting the development community know that this is important and it's, and that we're committed. I think that this is a very important first step. And given the stage of this project, still at the platting stage, putting this on the radar of the development community before they have another developer has bought the land, this is just a really good point to kind of open up this discussion. So I think it's great.
Good. We greatly appreciate the opportunity.
Yes.
Okay, Anna, whenever you're ready, we are.
All right, so the recommendation that I have down, and again, this is the draft, and I feel free to jump in and correct me as I'm saying things incorrectly here. So that the tree advisory is recommending that there be a survey done of desirable trees on the site, and Anna will provide a list of what is considered a desirable tree to the developer. Identify desirable trees that are good candidates for preservation, and, consider the 30% canopy goal in this process. If there is a lot of, if there's, I guess I'm not sure how to word this, but then plant trees to mitigate tree loss, and we didn't really put a number on that, so I've just got that as a recommendation, and maybe we can just leave it kind of loose.
And we could say, if necessary.
If necessary, okay. And then, work collaboratively with the city urban forester and naturalist.
Yeah.
I'll move that.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
So thank you very much for that discussion. I am very remiss in that I did not give Terrell an opportunity to introduce herself. She's on Zoom, listening so politely, and we're carrying on without giving her the opportunity. So, Terrell, if you wouldn't mind taking a few moments to introduce yourself, I'd be grateful, and I apologize for the omission earlier.
Sure. I'm Terrell Brock. I've been on the tree advisory since it started in the ad hoc committee before it became formal. So I've been involved, when Ed was the forester here too. And I'm just in general interested in trees here in Fitchburg.
Thank you, Terrell. All right.
All right, thank you, Terrell. I'm so sorry about that.
Yes, me too.
I'm very distractible.
So I think that kind of takes care of agenda items, both D and F.
Yes.
Okay, so, and then we can maybe move on to G.
So this is another item that was referred to tree advisory from Tuesday night's council meeting. This is a proposed amendment to the city's comprehensive plan. And it's related to it's approximately a 1.7 acre parcel that is on the north side of Haight Farm Road, just to the east of the Lacey roundabout there, and then west of where 14 would be. So there's a narrow parcel right there, and the property owners have requested to change the future land use map from low-density residential to mixed use. And I believe this was referred, this proposed comprehensive plan amendment was referred to you all with the suggestion that there could be some valuable trees on that site. And I'll let Anna speak to that.
So Jen and I went there today, and we could only look from the right of way. And again, this area is pretty invaded with invasive shrubs. It's a little hard to see in. We didn't see anything that really was eye-popping. It doesn't mean there isn't anything there, but it was mostly early successional trees, which leads me to believe that maybe that was really open in the past. I didn't look at an air photo, so I'm not really sure. But I guess there wasn't anything there that really was a cause for concern from my end. Then again, I didn't walk the site either, just looked in from the outside, but it was mostly cottonwood, a lot of popple, box elder, dead ash trees, elm, that kind of thing. So again, those are all really early successional trees that would pop up, after a site has not been mowed or burned or managed basically for a while. So I don't know how you guys feel about those kinds of sites or those kinds of trees. They are valuable. They are part of our landscape. We do have a lot of all of those species represented in other places as well. But I don't want to minimize what's there. I just kind of want to tell you basically from the right away looking in, kind of what I saw.
Good, okay, thank you.
Who is the owner of that parcel?
The owner is Green Tech, and the person that I've been working with is, I hate when I just lose, Chris Anderson, I think. He's done the development of the apartments along Lacey there. Chris Armstrong, sorry. I am so bad with names. I am so sorry. How embarrassing. But I should just say that there is no formal development proposals here. This would be just a very, very early part. Essentially, the comp plan, the future land use map shows low-density residential. To the south on Haight Farm, it's proposed, the future land use map is for a higher density transit-orientated development. And then north along Lacey Road there, that future land use map shows mixed use. So there's a couple of parcels that are just kind of in between here that are low-density residential, and the property owner has requested to allow for a higher density land use there. Yeah.
Mixed use, but it's going to be high density?
Not, I guess, I'm just saying a higher density than low-density residential. I would imagine that suitable on this parcel would maybe be a small number of townhouses, maybe some small kind of office buildings. It's a very narrow site. They're not going to put a big apartment complex there. There's just not the land for that. So from a planning perspective, appropriate to the site would be a small number of townhouses, maybe some smaller office kind of buildings.
Could we show the owner the motion we just passed and say something like this might be coming your way when you go to develop this?
Certainly, we could share that with him. Certainly.
Do you want the same exact wording?
Yeah, just to show them something we did, even though we don't really have any power yet.
Well, I think the difference is that if there aren't, so far, I think as a committee, we've talked a lot about identifying desirable trees. And I don't know in the future what that will mean. So I guess my question is just how many trees are in the area, what kind of green spaces are connected with that property. And I don't feel, I mean, I haven't seen it, so I don't kind of at a loss about how to give input about that.
We can put like a, I am seeing in Google, I can see the property.
And you all certainly, there'll be several steps in the development process. This is certainly not the one and only time that it needs to return to you. I would imagine we would have to do some kind of plat or CSM. There will be additional steps in this process before anything is ready to be built, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right. Ooh, then I get to edge. No, I do not want edge. I was trying to pull it up here on Google Earth.
Can I ask a question to
Oh.
Lisa, Linda?
What?
Another question to Diane. I want to ask.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Diane, the property, this parcel is beside the roundabout, isn't it?
It's to the east of the roundabout,
Roundabout. Okay,
yes, exactly. It's kind of a narrow parcel.
I mean, the one goal that's already always in place, that is in place now, is a 30% canopy goal. And I don't know how that translates when it's a higher density property.
I think that's a fair question. And I think that's something that we'll kind of have to work on. I can give you a little bit and kind of how things like parks and stuff work. I mean, so in the higher density developments, such as Terra Vesa, there might not be a lot of trees or a lot of yard right at that house or at that building, but the city requires a certain amount of park space per residential unit. And certainly what you all could consider, I'm not sure what your discussions are, but you have an overall development, and that overall development has the 30% tree cover, but an individual part of the development might not, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and that does make a lot of sense. Yeah.
So it may be on the property or it may be elsewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, it's kind of as the overall development as a unit would meet the 30% instead of a individual house or building. Yep.
So, let's see. What is the address? Is it? I don't remember.
I don't have the address up right off the top of my head. But if you're up on Haight Farm, okay, so you'll have to go a little bit more to the west. Yep, that's to the north.
Oh, I do have a,
Okay, there we go, a little bit more to the west. Ah. Okay, sorry. I'm confused too. There's the roundabout, there we go. Okay, so it's this parcel right here, right?
Oh, yep, yeah, you're facing south. Yep,
Sorry,
that's
yeah.
the parcel, you have it.
So it's right, it's this.
Yep,
So if we just looked from the road and it is tree covered. But, you know, whether there's anything in there worth keeping or not, I guess I didn't really realize how close it was to, I think this is Swan Creek, but. So it sounds like you're interested in just sharing some of the same language we had for the last developer with this developer and just saying like, hey, you know, we don't have anything really pressing to say about changing the comp plan to change from low density to mixed use. However, just realize, you know, this is some language that you may consider if you do redevelop, basically.
Is it just that area of land in front of the house with the dark roof?
It goes behind it a little bit too. If I was,
So are they tearing down the house?
yeah, the house would go away eventually.
so I'm just, yeah. So I'm just wondering, in terms of the policies and ordinances that we have now, so when, in terms of the park credits, when, I mean, then the city has input into what types of trees are planted in the parks, of course. I mean, we certainly could in some way express, you know, that the city goal of 30% canopy and city goal for desirable trees, I think, on properties, public and private properties. I don't know if we want to say it that way, but overall, because of their contribution to the canopy tree goal. I don't know if we can do something like that.
it's up to you guys, yeah.
Well, I don't want to be unreasonable, and I don't want to be based on what we have.
Did you have a comment, Sue? No? Okay.
Yeah, maybe just. Am I on? I'm on. I'm on? You're on. Like Linda said, maybe it's a little more gentle to just say that, remind them of the city's 30% canopy thing, which is already in place, and then give them information about the desirable trees, because there's nobody to ask
Yeah.
for a plan yet, right?
Well, this is, I mean, it's a really great question. How does this, I mean, one difference between this and the last thing that we voted on as a motion is that we already know there are desirable trees. But the point is that if there aren't, we still are wanting there to be a certain amount of desirable trees on a property that's being developed. So I don't know how those expectations differ between a housing development and a business. I don't know that. I mean, I don't know quite how to.
Well, I don't know.
Or if there's none, and if not, then we do what we did before.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we really can, I mean, we can suggest, but we really don't have a lot of power to say like, hey, you have to do X in this situation. But it is not a bad thing to bring it up. And to be honest, as we've discussed before, most of the people who are doing this kind of work, I mean, they want trees on their property. They want trees that are going to
Yeah.
last. You know, I think we can find a lot of common ground and common goals. So, and maybe it's just to remind whomever, you know, if it's Chris Armstrong or whomever, you know, hey, just as a reminder, we do have a 30% canopy goal in the urban service area. And, you know, these are some desirable trees you might want to consider either retaining or planting on your site.
Good.
Or, you know, and I don't know if that's, I mean, okay, so I'm going to write it down and then I'll repeat it so I don't get it wrong. Okay. All right, so basically what I wrote down is, you know, the city has a 30% canopy goal, and you, meaning the developer, whomever owns the parcel, may consider this, may consider retaining trees or planting desirable trees on the site to reach this goal, to maintain or reach this goal. Because now you can see it's a lot, it's, you know, it's probably 70% forested, so.
Right. I think that's very good. Any other suggestions, questions, comments before we take a vote? Okay, I make a motion that the resolution be adopted as stated by Anna.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the motion is passed. Thank you.
Yeah,
All
thank
right.
you all.
Well, thank you, it's a pleasure
Yeah,
to.
thanks so much for putting up with our kind of discussion
No, this
through this whole process. Some of this is excitingly new to us because this has been our goal. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
We're all doing a learning process.
Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate you coming, and it's always a pleasure to have a new person at the committee so everyone can get to know you.
Yep.
So have a nice rest of your day. All right. So I think then, with the amended twice agenda, then we'd be back to B, which is the tree protection ordinance, if I'm not mistaken.
Anna, what is H on here?
H, that is agreement for subdivision improvements. That's the Payne and Dolan CSM that's on McKee Road. So,
All right, but we have what we need to do that at the end.
I believe so.
Okay.
I'm going to stop. I'm going to get back to the packet here.
That one was referred out on Tuesday night, too. So that one is another similar to what we talked.
Okay, so. Let me check back to. There we go. There we go.
Right.
So we are then, so now we're back to the tree preservation ordinance update.
Okay. All right. So Craig Rapp is the committee member who has been working on the draft with Anna. And our last meeting was with Mayor Richardson, and he offered to sponsor the ordinance for us. So that's very good. So our next step is to meet with Valerie. She will be taking a leave soon, so her schedule is very tight. So we submitted the request to her, I think, the week before last, and she asked for a little bit more information as an introduction, just being very specific about the whats and the means of the ordinance. And Anna wrote up some of that information, wrote that up for her, and we have resubmitted it. And then all of you got a copy of that. It says that it's the tree protection ordinance narrative description. So that went with the ordinance proposal to Valerie, and we are just waiting to get on her calendar now. Did you all get a copy of that? Do you want me to read it?
Well, it's,
Oh,
sure,
why don't I read it?
sure.
So it's just an attachment to go with the ordinance draft. So being more specific about exactly what we're asking for, the what and how it would be enforced. So the what is the overreaching goal of the tree protection ordinance is to create a mechanism to retain trees on the city of Fitchburg landscape that contribute ecosystem and social services now and will continue to do so for generations. 2, Comprehensive Plan Policy 1.3.6, entitled Develop a Tree Protection Ordinance, includes these goals. So the ordinance this is the ordinance already in place. To develop a tree protection ordinance is what we're required to do.
Yep.
A tree diversity plan, and a tree canopy of 30% of the urban service area. So that's our goal as a committee, and that's the goal of the ordinance. As part of the preliminary planning process and/or rezone process, the desirable trees on a site will be considered for preservation. And that's what we just did in our previous agenda items, which is a very positive step, very positive. A tree preservation plan will be implemented from before construction starts until it has been completed. So
That's to your point, Brendy.
what? Yeah. All right, and then the means by which the ordinance describes that would be done is review by Plan Commission and review by urban forester and naturalist. So that would be part of the approval process. Questions, comments?
What about Parks Committee?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, you're right.
Yep,
I'm not so, yeah.
actually, that's on all my other lists. So I think what the plan then is that after we meet with Valerie, we'll go back and meet with some of these key committees for feedback before we go to the council to ask for approval.
Yeah, I think what we would do is refer first to Parks and then
Yes.
I believe to plan, I don't know, the mayor laid it out, and I don't want to mess it up here, but I think he said Parks Plan. Did he say Public Works? I can't remember.
Did you say?
I think he said Public Works too.
Okay, yep. Does that need to be added to that list that you gave her?
Probably.
Yep, okay. You could do that. Do you want me, are you going to follow up with talking to her? Do you want me to do that? Or I'd be happy to do that too.
Maybe you could just shoot her an email.
Okay, all right, so I'll add those to the list, I'll resubmit it, and then I'll work to schedule an appointment. All right. And I think I know when you're probably most available. And the goal is to get it in front of the council yet this year. That's our goal.
I have a question. Because, okay, when I came on the committee and started hearing about this ordinance, I just thought it was going to be like this thing. But what this looks like, this is going to get stuck into existing
Right.
ordinances. Is that what's happening?
there was-
I just didn't understand.
No, that's a really good point. So it started out as a standalone ordinance, but then the goal was to incorporate these goals into various aspects of the city operation, and that it made more sense. We have some really actually good ordinance like 54, which
Yep.
already describes what the city wants in terms of preservation. So it made more sense with our feedback from staff also to incorporate into the already existing ordinances, so it becomes systematically applied in the places that it comes up most often. And the approval process, the Planning Commission and the Parks Commission are all big hitters on that, so, I mean,
If I can kind of maybe just bottom line it, I mean, basically, what we're doing is putting trees on the agenda of Park Commission so that they can be considered in the process. And it's flexible enough that we're not cornering anybody to do anything that really is impractical. We're just trying to make sure that the trees are considered, and, you know, if we can retain some really valuable trees on site, we'd like to see that happen, you know, as is practical and doable, instead of just bulldozing the whole thing and then planting later. So that's kind of the, sort of the bottom line, I guess.
yeah, good question, thanks. Okay,
And thanks for all your work on this, Linda. Linda and Craig really carried the water on this one, so to speak. And,
it was a teamwork.
yeah, for sure. But you guys worked so much with Sonia. That was
Yeah,
just
she was-
wonderful. So thank you for doing that.
Welcome. All right, and if anybody has any questions or input at all about any of the things that we talked about with this ordinance, please just send us an email or give us a call. So,
All right. At long last, I think we're at C.
are we at the Dolly Conservancy Management Plan?
Yes, and I think Sam DiMaggio, who is already introduced himself, is here to speak on this. So I will let him take it away unless you need something from me, Sam.
I don't know if I need anything from you, but
I,
I'm just here to answer questions or whatever that people want to know about it.
Okay.
I started kind of doing this 2 years ago. I'm kind of a retired software engineer by profession. I did some county training on invasive species and went to chainsaw training and all the rest of that stuff. I started out as part of the pandemic, and I started clearing out property that was on the capital city and the bike path on there in Seminole Highway. So that's where I first kind of dipped my toe into the water, as it were, right, into the invasive species nightmare. I learned a lot from that particular experience in terms of just getting things, you know, out of there and clear it out. And then I moved along the bike path, cleared that out along Capitol to Chicory Meadow Park. And then I jumped into what we're going to talk about right now, which is Dolly Conservancy. I don't know how I quite got into that, but I looked at Seminole Highway, and I thought it was, as a resident here, I've been a resident of the area for 25 years, when I would drive down Seminole Highway, I thought, oh my God, this place looks awful, and some of the invasive species are actually encroaching into Seminole. So I said to myself, well, I could add that to my list of things that I could do. So I started with a fairly simple goal, which is just to create a perimeter 30 to 35 feet from Seminole Highway, and that, you know, and just try to take out all the invasives there, buckthorn, honeysuckle, and basically make it, and even I cleared the sign. I laughed as I went through there that it says Dolly Conservancy. You couldn't even see the sign because there were so many invasives in there. So I cleared that out too. And so the whole idea, as I got more into there, I said, wow, there's some incredible trees in this area. I mean, I haven't inventoried them, but there's a lot of 150, 200-year-old oaks in there. You know, so there used to be, I'm told, you know, I'm a 25-year resident. I was told there was a path through there, and there was all kinds of ability to get through that park. There's some historic nature to that conservancy area as well. So I kind of took it on myself. Thank you. Kind of took it upon myself to try to get in there and clear out as much. My initial charter was just to clear that perimeter. As I got talking to Anna, she's like, can you do anything to save some of those big trees over there? So I started moving in the interior, and basically I sort of triaged it a bit. I ended up taking down as many female buckthorns as I could. Sorry, but
30 years battling that.
yeah, so
I think I'm going to start like going under here, and it's going to be like PSTD or something.
in the course of about, I don't know, 2 months, I probably took out about I didn't count them all, but probably, I'd say easily 200 buckthorn trees and
Oh, my gosh.
stacked them up. So if you go through there or go along Sentinel Highway, it's probably fairly obvious, at least when you first make that turn, the fairly extensive reduction in invasives are in there. So you get an idea of what is possible. I don't know if I'm going to, my goal is to continue doing that in the winter, because that's when I've been doing most of this work, obviously. And I want to, I want to make the area accessible for residents of Fitchburg to be able to go back in there to enjoy whatever they used to do, walk their dogs, take walks in the park, look at the trees. So that's kind of what I've been doing. I want to expand the effort. I haven't inventoried all the trees there. I do know there are quite a few of them. The area that I was working in, there was easily 150, 200-year oak trees. Clearly, those are the kinds of things we need to trying to protect in any ordinance or any, I mean, these are historic trees. You can't go down to Home Depot and buy one of these, right? So, my goal was to try to initially just keep as many of those legacy trees alive. So kind of got me pushed off into doing some other work specifically aimed at trying to preserve oak trees. So that's what we're trying to do in the Dolly Conservancy area, is protect those legacy trees, trying to reduce the amount of invasives that are in there. And it's fair, I've heard it all through tonight. Everywhere you go, invasives are extensive in Fitchburg. And so I'm just really taking if you look at the Conservancy, that's a 42-acre park, I'm taking off a finger of the southeast corner there. That's a very small parcel. But like all things, you start with a small amount and you keep working at it. And over time, you actually can make an impact on some of this stuff. So I want to continue to do that, and so I might need some help from the city. And the city, I'm not doing this all myself. The city has helped me at least get some of the debris out of there. I don't know how we're going to do that in Dolly, because there's some hills and so on, so the forestry mowers can't get in there so easily. But I've been myself getting back there and pulling trees and letting Pelletieri take them. So I've cleared at least probably two parcels that are adjacent to people's property of invasives and let Pelletieri take it out, so the city's incurred no cost at all in terms of removal.
And so just to keep ourselves kind of organized and on the same page, what we did is we came up with a desired future condition, which was included in your packet, so hopefully you were able to kind of glance at this. And basically, and this is just, I guess what we wanted to do is come to Tree Advisory before we really got going too much more deeply into this management with some goals before we even get the objectives down. I want to get the goals across with this group just so we can have a little guidance as we move forward and we don't, run into issues. I will say, I think we have the signs up that mark the property boundaries, I believe, right, Sam? We did that, I thought, 2 years ago. I'll have to double check that.
Can you describe where it is, please, for people who aren't sure where it is?
Yep, so from PD, if you turn right onto Seminole Highway and you're moving towards the Arboretum, basically, it's the wooded area on the right, on the east side of the road.
So it's like it neighbors Dunsmarsh.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
it does.
It's on behind of the, it's on Seminole,
Yes.
Harlan Hills.
Seminole
that
and
area.
McKee,
Yeah.
right off the bike path.
Right,
Yes.
it's north of the bike path,
It
essentially.
looks
Right along-
beautiful in there. I mean, like the potential. How long has it been a conservancy?
I really don't know. I think
I
it
don't
was
know.
deeded over from the UW at some point. It was to be private property, and then it was turned over to the city.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen or read anything about what the purview of that conservancy area was. One would think that when that land was turned over to the city, that there had been some, if they made it into a conservancy area, that there'd been some guidelines for it, but I haven't seen anything.
That's a really good question, Linda. I have not seen anything either, Sam. I don't have any information on it, and I couldn't find any. Doesn't mean it isn't there, but you bring up a good point, and we probably should dig a little bit for that. I thought it was parkland that was dedicated when,
The neighborhood was built.
yes, I believe so. And I don't think that we've really done much with it since then. Yes.
It's a nice piece
I
of
didn't
property.
hear the
for city.
comment that was said by someone. What was said about when it was gotten?
Oh, it was deeded to the city as parkland when the neighborhood was built.
Oh,
Oh, we're not sure exactly when.
So can I make a comment? I want to say thank you to you because I walked that area because I live close by. And I saw for the first time, like a couple of months ago, before all the blooming of the tree and everything, the sign. And I say with my husband, wow, what is this? And he asked me, does that belong to the city? And I say, I don't know, I will ask. Because I thought it was part of the Dane County, and because I saw the sign for the first time, and then I saw some of the branches. I think someone was clearing. I said, it seems like someone is working here. So I was planning to, I forgot that when I went to vacation, but I was planning to ask Anna, I said, does belong to us, and who is working there? But thank you, because I was like, it's looked great, and
There's a long way to go, but
Yeah,
yes,
I
it looks a
know,
lot better.
Yeah, and I would like to echo that. Thank you very much, Sam. You've really done a lot of sweat equity in there, and also just, I think you've done a great job also in talking to neighbors and things, and it sounds like, I guess I haven't heard any negatives, and I don't know if you have, or if you want to speak to what.
I mean, the neighbor is always an issue. Privacy issues are always, I mean, when I did the Cap City Bike Trail, I ran into some neighbors who were more concerned with, their privacy than they were worrying about buckthorn trees, which I understand. But I haven't run into that so much in Dolly. I know I live on Tree Line Drive, so I know a lot of the people who are there. So most of them would probably be like, hey, Sam, what the hell are you doing back there, But most of them, I think, are happy with it. And, I don't think anybody wants to see those trees die. I mean, because, when you have invasives like that, they'll basically take over and you'll lose a lot of it. And we've already lost some trees in there as it is. But I've had very little negative from neighbors in that area.
And Sam, that's a really good point. I think a lot of people don't understand the damage that invasive species do to the trees that we want to maintain and the forested areas that we want to regenerate. So thank you. I mean, and thank you for sharing your process about how you got involved doing this. I think it's really great to hear. Sometimes people wonder about that. What can I do? How does it work? Sounds like.
I mean, the pandemic is what started it, and then I volunteered with the county, and the county basically trained me. My wife works for the DNR, so she somewhat educated me by dumping a whole bunch of literature in my lap, because I knew zero. I'm all self-taught. So fortunately, the focus is fairly narrow. What you need to understand isn't super complex. I got trained by the county. I know how to cut them down, how to treat them, and then it's really not a complicated process. And I've done a ton by myself. If we get a few more people involved, we could accomplish a lot, I think.
No, you're right, Sam.
That's another point well taken.
Yeah, you're right. I guess just to keep on the plan, I don't know if you guys want to comment at all about what we've put to paper so far, if anyone has any kind of concerns or suggestions, or would like to see this changed, or wants to see something different, or if you have kind of what your thoughts are. And then what we'll do is we'll kind of flesh out a little bit with some objectives, for example, clear around oak trees, like just some really more specific things, which we're already kind of
Well, I
doing,
mean, I think
but-
one of the clear objectives is where we clear areas out where oak seedlings can be planted, where
Right.
we should try to do that, because
Yes.
then we can manage the area better, because
Right,
an oak forest is something that's more easily managed by burn techniques, et cetera.
Right.
So I think when we clear areas out like that, when we get rid of invasives, if there's an opportunity to
Right,
plant
they just return.
more desirable oak species, we should
Yeah.
do that.
yeah, no, absolutely. And that's the kind of stuff that I think that we'll flesh out moving forward. I just want to make sure that our 4 main goals here are, don't cause any issues for anyone on the committee, or just to see if anyone's got any other thoughts or kind of feedback, so to speak, with kind of the big picture of what we're going to do here. And then we'll go ahead and do a little bit more research and put a few more things together for review in the future. But I didn't want to get too far down the road if we didn't agree on the goals, or there wasn't yes.
Yeah, a couple of things. Can I? So a couple of things, it will be nice if we can also include the history of this, how the city got this
Yes.
conservancy, some picture, the area, how big, all of that. So for the people to understand, because for me it's new, all of this, so, and for the council. So in goal number 4, you say you want to utilize external funding and partnership whenever possible. Can you be more specific about when you say funding is you are planning to have like a management plan like we did with
My God.
the one here? What is the other one that we have here? The Conservancy on Lazy?
Yeah, so so I think you're talking about McGaw.
Yeah, the Mago, yeah. So,
Yeah, so
do you envision something like this or?
probably something similar, but probably less intense because it's a smaller area. And I think the issues are less. It's in better shape. It isn't quite as invaded with, it's invaded with invasive shrubs, but there's a lot of really desirable trees and plants in there. And we don't have some of the same issues that we have in McGaw in terms of just the general, there's more to be saved, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So it might be a little bit easier. Yeah, but you're right. We do need to do a little bit more research into the history. And in terms of utilizing external funding and partnerships, for example, like Sam's a volunteer, which is great. He's pulled in his woodworker pals, I think. I think they're your woodworker guys, I think. Or
Whoever I can get, right?
yeah, whomever. And also, working with the neighborhood associations there was it in April? We planted some native shrubs in the area, and I used money I got from ATC, American Transmission Company, had given me some money for Arbor Day, so we used that to buy, we bought a couple of oak trees and some native shrubs and things of that nature and got those planted in the area. So that's kind of what we mean, is
Now-
trying to really get a lot of
Now you're
volunteers.
talking about the Chicory Meadow area?
Yeah, and that's right. So that's kind of, it's all
It's an
kind of,
entirely different area.
well, it's connected. But that's right. So
It's not part of the Dolly Conservancy.
No,
no, not really, but I'm giving an example of how we utilize external partnerships. So anyway,
That's great. Very creative. Takes a lot of energy.
yeah,
Feel it. Thank you. And thank you, Sam. That's wonderful.
all right.
Boy, that's great plans. Yeah, I don't have anything else to add. Does anyone else?
I think we should paint the sign with the city color because it's
Yes.
that brown, dark brown that you cannot see the sign there.
Yeah. That is a very good idea. All right.
Thank you, Sam. You're welcome here anytime.
Yeah, and thanks for coming to talk, Sam. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
thank you.
All right. All right. So then I think we're on E if I'm following the abridged several times agenda.
Right. Okay. So this is the resolution asking for
I think this is it.
private right-of-way to the tree terrace for gardens.
And thank you, Julia, for providing us with the comments from Park Commission earlier today.
So is this the point that we ask Sue to speak before we go further?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, thank you for the reminder.
Takes the whole team to remind us. But
Yeah.
Hi. We did talk about this at Parks and Recreation Commission with the idea that really this committee input is most important. And the list that you got, there's like 24 points that are numbered. And those, just for your the context of them, those were provided by a single Parks Commission member who, and this is a good idea, that person just kind of floated this idea to friends and neighbors. And that is a long list of what friends and neighbors' thoughts were. And so that is not something that the Parks Commission voted on and said, here's what we think. It was that individual person's collected comments. Because one of the things other commissioners noted is some of those points are contradictory. Some are in favor, some are not in favor. It's raising a lot of good questions. So I just wanted to make sure that was understood. And then
Is the section additional comments, is that part of what the
those
committee
are
discussed?
those were some general comments. I remember, and I'm going to mention just what I remember that maybe fleshes that out a little more. There was a concern that if we had a forester implement the program or police the program, how much time does that take? Because we only just got the position expanded with the idea that we're going to catch up on work we already have. So that was a question. I'm not saying that the forester shouldn't do it, but what kind of work are we creating? And I know the Common Council thinks about that as well. It's
I know staff was really concerned about that,
Right.
Public Works staff. Yeah.
right. And then they talk about, salt getting into gardens, et cetera. I know the one thing whether I was on your committee, Parks Commission, or just a citizen, I would suggest that people not put vegetable gardens right next to where cars are driving. Because there have been a lot of studies about the toxins emitted from the exhaust brake, et cetera. I just would never want to see that happen, and I don't know if it's a liability issue. And I know that's really stretching the point, but can someone turn around? A question I have is, can the city be sued because someone found some type of toxin in their vegetables because we allowed them to plant it close to the road? And I don't want to sound alarmist, but you never know what would happen, and that would be something for the city attorney to tell the council. So I think that's pretty much all I wanted to mention about it.
Thank you. Yes, Julia?
The other thing that I watched for the meeting because I was on vacation, I couldn't be in the meeting, but I think people were concerned about trees. Because if people raising those flower beds or garden beds close to a tree, and then, or start making holes to do a garden, they can damage the roots of the tree, or they can water, or they're using some fertilizer. Maybe they can go through the roots of the tree. So, So how do we control that? And the other thing I want to mention, because I was paying attention more driving now around my neighborhood, is a lot of people, there are a lot of houses where they're doing this already. Believe me, it's incredible. I never pay attention until now, and I say, why? And it's not allowed to do that in the right of way. You know what I mean?
Because it's a public right of way.
Yeah, exactly. And people go to the curve to do stuff. You know what I mean? So this is the other thing. There is a lot of people that are doing already this, and the concern is, the other thing is you do that in an area where there are a lot of I don't know, maybe a foot or 2 foot, there's some cable, pipes, you know what I mean?
Yeah, all the utilities are the utilities are there, yeah.
But I think my biggest concern is about if we have trees in those areas, that they are city property. And then people start digging holes and using enough water or other type of fertilizer, they are going to affect the roots of the tree. And, I mean, at the end of the day, we had to replace those trees, because they belong to the city. So,
Right.
I don't know. And
The other thing I just wonder about is taking up growing space.
Can I have a question? So can we open the discussion while Sue's here? Is that all right?
yes.
Or does she-
I think you need to ask for move the resolution, and then we have the discussion.
Yeah.
Right, I'm just asking.
No,
can Sue
exactly.
be Part of that discussion. That's all I'm asking.
Well, I filled out the form.
I know.
And
I know,
I
I
filled
know.
out answer questions if necessary, and then I speak on this issue.
yes.
So that's all legal.
Yes.
But, and Julie and I have
I'm just asking about that
Yeah.
formality.
Yeah, and the,
Just
yeah,
include you in
I
the
believe I
discussion,
can.
which would be great.
I've got permission for that, I believe.
Oh, good, okay.
But then Julia is making the other point, which we're trying to also learn at Parks Commission, is to sort of make a motion to discuss, correct? Is that what you were saying?
Okay, oh, is that what you're saying? Okay, I would very much like to make a motion to discuss this as a committee. Yes,
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye,
I,
yes, okay.
So now we discuss.
All right, so now we'll discuss.
so I guess I'm not clear, what are the key points or concepts that we have a concern with and that we want to focus on?
Okay, so the resolution proposes, the ordinance proposal is such that that land would be privatized. It's now city, it's city access land, so it will be privatized. And then people would submit a request, an application, to have a garden there.
This is the resolution right here. Just so you got it.
Do you have a copy of the resolution, Terrell?
Yes, but I haven't read it.
Okay, so, I had a lot of concerns about this whole concept initially. It is a public, not private, the terrace area, even though, it has to be maintained by the owners, but that is our major, it's been designated that public access site for a very long time, and it is a major location for our city trees that is all part of our 30% canopy goal. And so I have lots of concerns about anything that would require us to give that up. So I looked at the comments, feedback from the staff as well, and they had lots of concerns about who would monitor it. I know I'm on the board for a neighborhood association, and people have really different ideas of what upkeep is. So,
These are the steps.
and policing is not something, I think that would be really a nightmare. What I do really love is I love the public designated community gardens. I think those are fantastic, and I really am very supportive of that. But I would not be, unless somebody tells me something differently today, I would not be supportive of an ordinance like this. I would want to protect our terraces.
So my other concern, okay, can I?
So this is Bill who's proposing this?
No,
This is,
No. It's been proposed,
so here's the resolution.
pardon?
So it was
the
Alders,
are
Maldonado,
proposing
and,
it.
so it's a resolution, and it was put forth by Alders, Maldonado, and Allen.
can I have some inside info?
Yes.
Julia.
Because I asked a question, first of all, why we are doing this, okay? So there are some neighbors that are pushing this, so I would like to know that. And I think in Park was one of the questions in Parks is why the elders that they are putting this resolution, they are not here today to tell us why we are doing that. Because usually as an elder, when you move forward a resolution and you want the resolution to be passed, you're going to lobby for your resolution, or you're going to come and explain to us why we are doing this, okay? So why we are doing this is important. And there are a lot of contradiction stuff in that ordinance. And right now, this is my understanding, it's not allowed to do anything in that right of a way of the city,
Yes.
So, so I agree with your same concern that you have, because different people have different way of doing stuff. Mm-hmm. But now my other question is, if you look at your neighborhood and pay attention, you will see that a lot of people are doing this thing right now. But maybe they don't know that they cannot do this in that area of the right of way. So, my concerns are that I think we need to go back to the table, and if they want to pass this resolution, they need to be drafted in another way. They need to clear out all our concerns. We can provide another list of concerns. Public Works, Public Works Commission, I think is a commission that eventually, because it's Public Works control that area, you know what I mean? It's a commission who I think also we need to listen to what are the input and feedback, because we have all this utility on the ground in that area. So I don't know. I think there is a lot of, I agree with you. I don't feel comfortable now to approve something like this because I have a lot of questions.
Other comments, questions?
I guess I agree that it's really early for us to weigh in on this. And also, I live in a part of the city where we don't have sidewalks. We don't have a terrace. We don't have terrace trees. And in my neighborhood, a lot of people put a big planting around their mailbox, including me, around their mailbox. I don't know why, just because. So that's going.
Mailbox owners do that too.
That's going on. So I don't know. It's confusing.
Well, I guess one thing I'm thinking is that, like, when I go down, when I'm on a walk, and there is no sidewalk, I'm walking in your yard. I'm not going to walk on the street usually, So, and I think I don't know if that's legal or not. Is it? Yeah. Right. It is safety. Yeah. So. Yeah, I don't know how that works with the city, if there's no sidewalk, or terrace, but anyway, this is terraced areas specifically, so. But I know that in the neighborhood association, that in our neighborhood, the city has 10 feet in access from the road, sidewalk or no. So on the McKee side, there's 10 foot that we have to leave the city access.
I think Sue had a point to make.
Yes, Sue.
Well, one of the, I'm agreeing with you to say that where there are no sidewalks, there is still a utility easement that comes up at commonly 10 feet. So that we have no sidewalks, and we all had to remove, when they redid the utilities, we removed our little mailbox gardens to save them, and then we were allowed to put them back. But one of the points raised by the Parks Commissioner who had that list, when he was saying a lot of people already do this, I think almost all the time it's not vegetable gardens. It's, I usually, we all see some type of flowers or what have you. And if something like this is enacted, the city then, if you're going to require a permit, what do? You go up and down every street, knock on their door and say, you have flowers around your mailbox. You need to pay $30 a year for a permit.
That's an interesting thought.
Right, because then but you can't charge one and not the other. So it might be just a gigantic can of worms that might be, now I'm saying this is a homeowner, not anything else, just leave it alone. But at the same time, you really shouldn't have people putting up structures, rock gardens, raised planting beds, sticking out pots of tomatoes, or digging to plant gardens that are cultivated every year to plant vegetables, damages the trees.
Right.
So you simplify.
That would be a
But you
major
do want to
concern.
protect the trees. And one thing I learned from Anna that I hadn't realized is that a lot of those terrace trees can be overwatered, and that can kill them. So if you have a vegetable or flower garden, something that's very extensive, you water it to keep that going, you actually can damage and kill the terrace tree that's been there 10 years or so.
Yep, and I think that point about the salt and other kinds of toxins from the street or from the sidewalk as well is also a really good point. And when when input from the city is made about what kind of trees are placed on the terrace, all that's taken into consideration because it does have a big impact. And again, I love, I mean, this isn't a committee statement, but I love the idea of having garden space available for people who don't have a large enough yard for a garden, so they have a place to have a garden. And all the community gardens I've seen look mighty fine. I mean, it looks like people take a lot of pride in them. It's great for the community. But that's a very different concept than what this proposal is talking about. Yes.
There is a staff time because we know our staff is currently over capacity. Anna, you are a 3/4 employee.
Yep.
You are your own person, and if someone has to, to give the permit, be sure that people are following the ordinance and all of that. Do we really need staff people doing that work? And when we don't have the capacity to do that, it's putting more strain on staff capacity, and you know what I mean. So I think we need to look at this holistically and say, is this something that really makes sense to the city? And we should spend time doing that. Because, as I mentioned, there are a lot of people that are doing already this. We shouldn't go back and say, oh, by the way, now you have to pay, like Susie, $30 to maintain this. You know what I mean? It's going to be more, I can imagine in my mind all the things that they had to go through inside the city to, the permit, collect the money, process the payment. It's I don't know.
Well, and the other thing is, too, if there's complaints about noncompliance, which there will happen, I mean, that's going to be a lot of time, too.
And I know, just like us looking at the ordinance that we're working so hard on, one of the pieces of feedback we've got continuously is, be aware of what you're asking in terms of, staff time and monetary resources for the city. And this looks like it's very, very heavily weighted down with staff time, certainly. But I think bigger than that, it seems contradictory to the plans that the city has right now using the tree terraces and our tree plantings. And I saw comments comparing them to Madison. Apparently Madison has passed something like this. And I haven't read that, but I know that Madison has, where they are as a large established community, is different than where we are. We have a lot of new developments. They have a lot of neighborhoods that are 150, 200, I don't know, longer that, years old, with huge mature trees, and they've had tree policies in place for quite a long time, I think. So they're in a different place than we are. I just don't see that this is.
And one of the big differences in that, Linda, that you mentioned is soil. Our terraces are not native soil. It's soil that's brought in. It's mostly what you might call fill, heavy clay component. It's not easy to grow things in. Whereas in Madison, I've been walking around a few neighborhoods just taking a look at what's there. There are a lot of terrace gardens, but that's a native soil. So it's much easier to grow things and takes a lot less inputs. And we can't really leave that out of the equation, that the soil is not created equal everywhere.
That's a really good point. The other thing that we're discovering in our neighborhood that's about 20 years old now, a little more than that, is that a lot of the developers put in plastic underneath their flower beds so that as trees mature and the roots, they have no place to go. So we're having some troubles with that too. So, yep, I think that's a good point. I would like us to consider a resolution about whether we see this as a positive move at this point for the city in the way that this resolution is worded now.
I suppose we can't just use your words, which is, this is just a can of worms. Can we make a resolution and just pass that?
I think we can just say
There's
whether,
another way to say that.
I think we can just say, what I'm wondering is if we could make a motion to accept or reject this resolution as worded.
I would prefer that we postpone it for further discussion next time. All of this material I was not provided in advance to read and think about, and we've had a lot of preliminary discussion. I think it would be good to mull it over a little bit more and discuss it further next time so we can, in more detail, come up with pros and cons.
I guess it's referred to us now, and it goes back to council. So it was in your packet, Terrell, and I did email it to you, as well as having it in the packet.
I didn't have it printed out, and I believe I printed out everything that I received from you.
Yeah, I mean,
It was on the original agenda.
Okay, then I missed it somehow, so I don't know how I missed all those
Yeah, I'm
pages.
sorry. Yeah. It's easy
so,
to do.
you know, I guess the time to act is sort of now if you, in terms of what you want to do, because it's working through its way through the referral process. So I'll just show you the schedule that's
I
on
think that
here.
I'm concerned about the repercussions of this being great enough that we don't want to take a chance on not acting on it.
Yeah, so next it goes to Plan Commission, and then
Yeah.
it goes back to council.
Yeah.
That one's Thermo Fisher.
Sorry, geez.
So it sounds like
Thanks,
the
Sue.
comments, well, the comments I'm hearing are pretty consistent. I mean, that's not a reason to do it, but are pretty consistent with feedback from Public Works and the feedback from Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, so this is the referral sheet. So it first went to Park Commission, then Board of Public Works. It's been to RCC. It's here now. It'll go next to Public Safety, Board of Public Works, June 20th, and then back to council.
In RCC?
So my impression is that they had a pretty lengthy discussion, and it was similar to what you guys are saying now. I think they are like, well, this isn't necessarily a bad idea. And I'm kind of paraphrasing, obviously, but it needs a little bit more work. And they brought up, I think, the exact same things that you guys are bringing up now. So.
I guess I can't think of what would be more work that would make it acceptable.
So and when it says that the Board of Public Works deferred, does that mean that they just declined to vote on it and just said, we're not going to?
Take it on the next meeting.
Oh, right, sorry, thank you.
And we don't meet again for quite a while, so.
And we don't meet again until September, so we can't,
Oh, until September?
yeah, we don't meet again until September 8th.
All right, does somebody want to make a motion? Or does that have to be me?
So I move approval, and then everyone say yes or no, okay? I move approval of resolution R-120-22.
Is that how you always word it?
This is how we say it.
Okay.
This is how I always say it.
Okay, so but the motion is to approve it or disapprove?
No, now we vote and people say yes or nay.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right. So the resolution is to approve.
We need a second.
Second.
Okay, so now, yeah.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay.
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 Hey,
Okay. The
She?
motion does not, the motion for approval does not pass.
Yeah, failed. So motion fails.
Okay.
The can of
Wow,
worms
such
is
a harsh-
done.
Yeah. So that will go on the referral sheet. Do you want any comments as well? So it'll go on the referral sheet here. It'll say motion failed. And we can add comments as well if you'd like, or we can just
Well,
send them with
I
Julia
guess
to
my
the.
personal comment is, well, no, my committee is that I am very in favor of designated areas for community gardens, but I am not at all in favor of privatizing public access terraces. And that one major reason for that is our protecting our urban forest infrastructure and to work on meeting our goals of 30% canopy cover for the city of Fitchburg.
Okay. So I guess I'll put that in the comments sheet. Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Does that misrepresent anybody?
oh,
Okay.
That's,
can of worms, put that in.
yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, guys. All right, and last but not least, we'll jump down to H. I am not as familiar with this one.
Okay, so this is Resolution R-13022, approving agreement and assignment of agreement for subdivision improvements in the Payne and Dolan, CSM, on McKee Road. Julia, do you know anything about it?
Gabriela, but I think it's the same issue that there are some tree there. I don't know. Because it was a referral, I don't know the details because of, but
Oh, here we go. Okay, so yeah,
I
this is,
assume that it's the same thing. They are,
yeah, within,
I think this is a lot where Payne and Dolan is located on McKee and close to Verona, and there is a lot behind General Beverage. They are gonna split the lot and sell one of the lot to General Beverage because they need more space.
yeah,
But that's it. I don't know.
okay.
I know. So this was something that was added to the agenda since the Tuesday council
Yeah.
meeting that we have not had a chance to look at.
Something like that.
So, I'm not as familiar with this particular lot. I don't,
It,
it's not a very easy place to access if you, from the public
no,
right
it's
away.
behind, the place where also you need to go through, the place where they sell all the stones, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like a small road there, but
Yeah.
you think it's part of the business, but also,
Right.
yeah, it's kind of,
It's a little odd.
I mean, I think in general, we make the just kind of general statements about any new development or redevelopment about our goals to maintain and preserve desirable trees, and 30% canopy cover applies really to all development and redevelopment from the perspective of this committee.
Okay.
I hate not to respond at all, but I don't, yeah.
No, I think that's fair. I think this is a very small area, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So, I
Is
think,
that, is the committee agreeable to that? Is that all right? Okay. Okay.
okay. All right.
And this is not last but least. This is really big.
Oh,
Always.
the urban forestry
Well, you
report?
do, yeah.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Linda. So, yeah, so basically, I provided you a written report. It's, we're planting trees like maniacs, like we always do every spring. So, and trying to do a little bit more towards maintenance too. The one thing that I will say is we ended up having, I think it was 7 Arbor Day events, and that might be too many. So I think in the future, we're going to try to keep it to 1 or 2, and hopefully the public health situation will let us do more event. Like, the reason we did so many small ones was to keep the group small, right? And so the pandemic kind of necessitated that, but it did end up being a lot of time. So I think moving forward, hopefully in 2023, we can go back to and hopefully we can do it in town of Madison, because we get that this October. We can go to that park this spring and do a nice Arbor Day event there with hopefully, the new residents and that sort of thing. But at any rate, so I just wanted to point out that the Arbor Day events did get to be a little bit much, and next year we're just going to probably do 1, maybe 2, hopefully. So, I guess I don't even know what else to comment about here. Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff going on. It's a time of year when we get a lot of phone calls and a lot going. It was nice to bring Jenna on this spring, which has been great. She's been an awesome contribution to the team. I mean, does anyone have any questions about what we've done so far this last couple months? So.
No.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And obviously, working with Sue on plant stuff. Oh, Sue did an awesome job with the Girl Scouts here in the Senior Center Grain Garden. It looks amazing. Thank you.
There was a Girl Scout group that came forward, and then Anna got the plants. The city purchased the plants through the Plant Dane program. Every spring, in fact, I think it's February when you're
Yep.
ordering the plants.
Yep.
Small plants, and so the adults and the scouts were planting, weeding, everything. It looks nice back there. And there's something, if I can just almost do like a little public appeal for potential assistance. I learned today that the Savannah Oaks School on Lacey Road, they have a native prairie, a small installation there, and they have to excavate some of it to improve their drainage. I talk with the principal there every year, because that's where I get a lot of seeds from to donate to the city.
Wow.
Well, they haven't flagged out what has to be excavated, which means all the native plants growing there are going to be scraped up and dumped, and then they have to reseed it. What happened is, over the years, just with all the debris and it built up more and more soil, and that's supposed to be a drainage area. It was no longer draining. So the roof runoff is supposed to go in there and infiltrate, and it just backed up, and then there was leaking in the school.
Oh,
So they really have to do this.
yeah.
And I'm just going to be having to walk by there every day to see if they flag it out. They said the principal is going on leave in the next day or two for a couple weeks. It's not flagged, so I'm just going to try to keep walking there, but to see when it's flagged. And he just said I could bring in people, or, people that are trusted can go in there with a shovel and dig some things out. But we have to know where they're excavating. We can't take plants that are meant to stay. So if anybody wants to let me know if they want to help, or know anyone else that may want to help, I can, we'll get the contact info, and we'll try to save some, and we can pot them up and give them to Jenna and Anna, and they'll
Yes.
put them in some other prairie.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do this sort of plant rescue thing a lot, and I think it's very effective. And we really, get a lot of our parks populated with native plants through Sue's work. Or the asters last fall was awesome.
Yeah, those were all, well, it'll be nice to see them come up again this year.
Yeah.
The other part of the school equation, and this I really have to contact him again about, that prairie has got a wider dimension close to Lacey Road, and then as you go north, it tapers off into this narrow strip. And this year, there's a new buildings and grounds supervisor for the school district, and they decide they don't want that part anymore, and they're just mowing it.
Oh,
So there are plants there that could be rescued, but there, you got to fill the holes, and that's logistically
difficult.
very difficult. So I don't know if those plants are just goners or what. I got to think about that one a little more.
Wow.
Well, thank you for bringing that
Those
up.
are great projects, and, yeah,
We need young
Volunteer,
people with shovel
yeah.
feet.
Yeah,
great.
awesome.
Well, anyway, I'll email you about what I wondered. All right, thank you. Are there any other announcements right now? This is perfect. That was perfect timing.
I did send you guys an invitation to, UW is holding I thought you might be interested, UW is holding an invasive plant kind of field day here in July. So if you're interested, you can register. I think I sent it to everyone here. So feel free if you're interested to register. Should be interesting.
What is the deadline for registering?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think they said. That's a good question.
I'd love to do it, except I'm committed every Thursday if the weather is nice.
Oh, I see.
If it rains, I'm free,
Yeah,
but I won't know.
right, until right before.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, we'd love to have you regardless, so,
we'll see.
okay.
Did
All
you
right.
send that to the alders as well?
No.
I think there's interest in that. Some of the alders do
I sent it to Julia.
want to know,
Yeah,
the more if they didn't make the RCC
oh, sure.
meeting
Yeah, yeah.
about, maybe there's one or two that would want to come to this, just to learn more
Yeah.
about it.
That's true.
Because they're hearing a lot more about it from people like me and other people. It feels like sometimes it's every other word out of my mouth is invasive, invasive. Yeah, I know.
But you're very diplomatic, Sue, so it all works out. It all works out. So, okay. I guess, just other than that announcement, I just wanted to say that our next meeting is in September, and if you have any agenda items, make sure you get them to me before Labor Day, so I can get things on the agenda. And that usually is when we talk about budget stuff, but the budget's kind of done by then, so that's kind of the gist of that agenda.
So how often does this committee meet?
Six times a year.
Oh, okay.
And because our big events are in the spring, typically, we only meet twice in the fall, usually. And because I think a lot of folks travel, too. A lot of folks on this committee are members of the traveling public, and they are typically not available in December, January, February, typically. So
what is going to happen with the tree protection ordinance? It's going to wait until fall? We need to wait for...
we should really refer it out in September.
Okay.
That really is what should, to keep on our timeline, we really need to do that. So we really need to get with Valerie before then to get our final draft, and then kabam.
Yes, I think we're all ready to move ahead with all of that.
Yeah.
Committee's all informed and that input, and
Yeah.
so,
All right.
all right. Motion to adjourn? Oh, motion to adjourn. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you all very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone.